Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Whenever and wherever you're listening to this podcast, you are very welcome. Welcome to Rugby News. We'll kick off, as we like to do, with a roundup of local news. That's news local to rugby, with the help primarily of the excellent local paper, the Rugby Observer. We'll hear about the death of a murder suspect in police custody, local police resources being held in readiness to help deal with the nationwide crisis of prison overcrowding, free parking in rugby up to Christmas, and what to do with your real Christmas tree when it's all over. I've also been out and about this week finding out about rugby's own Repair Cafe. Let's kick off then with the local news as of today, the 29th of November 2024. The country's prison estate is under great pressure, and Warwickshire is not immune from the strain. At a meeting of the county's police and crime panel this week, Warwickshire's Police and Crime Commissioner Philip Seckham confirmed that police custody cells in Warwickshire are on standby for use as makeshift prison places with jails near to the maximum capacity. Overcrowding in jails up and down the country led the government to allow some inmates to leave under licence after completing 40% of their sentences rather than the standard 50%. Sex offenders, those convicted of domestic abuse, or convicts with sentences of 4 years or more for serious violent offences were not included, and it only applies to sentences where prisoners are automatically reduced after a certain period. There have been 2 waves of early releases, in September and October this year, and Mr Seckham revealed the system is still near to the maximum capacity in prisons. Our 2 custody blocks in Warwickshire are available, if needed, to house those prisoners who cannot get a place elsewhere. I've been at a summit in London of all the PCCs and chief constables, and this was discussed in some detail. And as a police force area, we have certainly offered our custody cells if it does reach full capacity. In September, Mr Seckham estimated that there would be around 35 to 40 released into Warwickshire across the 2 stages in September and October, and his report at the time stated the process had gone well. Thanks to the diligence of the preparatory work undertaken by Warwickshire Probation and other partners, the impact in Warwickshire has been well managed and communicated to all key criminal justice partners. In early October, the Rugby Observer reported the death of an unnamed woman in Aqua Place and that a man had been arrested. Well, the pensioner, accused of murder, has died in custody. Police and paramedics had been called to a house in Aqua Place on October the 8th at 9:39 in the morning, and they found the body of a woman in her 70s. Mr Surendra Patel, aged 78 of Aqua Place, went on to be charged with the murder. But Warwickshire Police confirmed on the 20th of November that Mr Patel had died while being held on remand in prison custody. All criminal proceedings in relation to the case now end. A coroner would take over the case, but as yet a date for the inquest has not been set. At that inquest, it will be for the coroner to determine the cause of the woman's death and how it came about. Storm Bert came roaring through last weekend, pretty much as predicted, causing flooding and all sorts of inconvenience, and also forced the cancellation of the weekend markets in Leamington, Warwick and Rugby. Multiple flood warnings were in place across the West Midlands as communities dealt with the storm and the aftermath. In our part of Warwickshire, the Welsh Road had been impassable in both directions at Offchurch, just beyond Southam towards Leamington, because of standing water between Long Itchington Road and School Hill. I checked the gov.uk webpage, check-4-flooding.service.gov.uk, this morning, Friday 29th, for our local area and found the following update. River levels are high but are slowly falling at the Stratford River gauge. As a result, the risk of flooding remains but is decreasing, We expect flooding to affect low-lying land and roads adjacent to the River Avon between Rugby and Bidford, including Warwick, Stratford-upon-Avon, caravan parks and farmland. We are closely monitoring the situation. Our incident response staff are actively checking river levels, the weather forecast and are clearing weed screens. Please avoid using low-lying footpaths and bridges near local watercourses and plan driving routes to avoid low-lying roads near rivers which may be flooded. Essentially, people, things seem to be calming down, but still do beware. If you fancy doing some shopping in town this Christmas, the council are trying to make it easier for you. They are funding periods of free parking for shoppers in Rugby Town Centre in the run-up to Christmas, so why not take advantage of the opportunities? At the West Way car park off Corporation Street, parking will be free of charge every day in December. At the John Barford multi-storey car park between James Street and Railway Terrace, it will be free every Saturday and Sunday in December after 10 a.m. The John Barford will be open on Sundays, especially for the promotion, but do note that you'll need to be displaying a free ticket dispensed by the central ticket machine on each floor. Don't just abandon your car and wander off. After Christmas, what do you do with your real Christmas tree? I'll tell you what you should do this year. Raise some money for Myton Hospice by arranging for it to be taken away by the Pass the Smile charity. Strip the tree of its decorations and leave it out for volunteers to collect. Simples. You just book online at www.just-helping.org.uk/register-tree. And depending on your postcode, they'll pick it up on the 10th, 11th or 12th of January. They whisk it away to Baginton or Snitterfield, where it's shredded and sent to biomass for electricity generation. It's so convenient and they don't charge a penny. You just give a donation that goes straight to the Myton Hospices. Give what you want. The average last year was £17, but you just give what you can afford. We're told £25 covers the cost of 1 hour's specialist nursing care at Myton Hospice. £32 will fund 2 children's bereavement counselling sessions, and £50 will fund hospice accommodation for relatives for 2 nights. Last year was a bumper year for the collection. Pass the Smile collected over 3,100 trees in the local area, raising over £48,500. Go on, at the end of this podcast, nip off and register online at www.just-helping.org.uk/register-tree. You'll have heard that the famous Brownsover Hotel closed suddenly in the summer, and there are new owners, the Distinct Group, who are giving the place a bit of a revamp. Instead of tipping the old furniture and household items they don't want anymore, they've donated it all to the Rugby Bearboards Trust, the local charity that helps struggling families to settle into new homes. Full dinner services, electric kettles and irons, coffee tables, wardrobes, mirrors were all donated. The items that don't go directly to eligible families will be sold in the Bearboards shop in Warren Road to fund the charity's running costs. So that's another story of recycling instead of landfill and helping local people who are in real need. Visit the Bearboards shop at 36 Warren Road, but it's best to ring ahead for their opening hours. Call 01788 547 358. That's 01788 547 358. One thing leads to another, they say, and so it was when Rockash Silikis was stopped by the police for driving while using his mobile phone. He wound the window down and the police caught a whiff of cannabis. They searched the car and seized 2 large bags of cannabis along with 3 mobile phones and £3,000 in cash. Following the arrest, detectives from Warwickshire Police's Serious and Organised Crime team went on to raid 2 houses in Rugby linked to Silicus, where they discovered 158 cannabis plants. Silicus of Tettenhall Road in Wolverhampton was jailed at Warwick Crown Court for 2 years and 3 months after pleading guilty to 2 counts of producing cannabis and 1 count of possession of cannabis with intent to supply. Warwickshire Police said, "This was an excellent bit of policing by officers on patrol, and there are a couple of lessons to be learnt from this. Firstly, don't use your mobile phone while driving. Secondly, especially don't do it if you're carrying 2 large bags of cannabis." Evening all. There's likely to be a new weekly food waste collection service launched in Rugby, but not until 2026. Rugby Borough Council needs to meet the government's simpler recycling requirements, and it's preparing to launch the free service, assuming plans are approved next week. They want to make it easier for residents to recycle their food waste and remove smelly waste from black refuse bins. Each household will be given a small kitchen caddy that they can use to collect food waste as they prepare and clear up meals, and a larger external food waste bin with lockable lid to keep outside. The food waste will be collected weekly and will be processed to turn it into electricity and fertiliser. The council will need to buy new specialised waste collection trucks and food caddies, which could all take up to a year to arrive once ordered. That's because there's a big backlog of orders at the suppliers, because every council will be doing this. Depending on vehicle and caddy delivery, the service is likely to be launched in April 2026. Councillor Alison Livesey said, "All of this will help us to lower our carbon footprint and contribute to our corporate strategy objective of creating a greener Rugby." Councillor Sam Edwards said, "Currently, food waste that's discarded into landfills is not just lost, it generates methane, which is a greenhouse gas more potent than carbon dioxide." Here's a quick update on the situation regarding the proposed closure of the 25-bed Hoskin ward at our Hospital of St Cross. Last Wednesday, on the 20th of November, Michael Moran, leader of the Rugby Borough Council, posted this on Facebook. "Agreed this evening. Rugby Borough Council will write to the Board of University Hospital Coventry, Warwickshire, asking them to urgently review their decision to close the Hoskin ward at Rugby St Cross. There was a clear failing in the consultation process in direct contradiction of best practice. If the board is unwilling to do this, Rugby Borough Council will refer the matter to the Secretary of State for Health, asking him to intervene, given the lack of consultation and published impact assessment." Proud to say there was unanimous cross-party support at November's full council meeting for the above. Compounding the issue is the manner in which staff have been treated. It's not acceptable and not what has been communicated to RBC in initial meetings. Lastly, I'd add that this is just the first part of the process in working to ensure Rugby receives the health service it deserves, with other areas such as our urgent care provision very much in the same camp. RBC is not the ultimate decision maker on health, but we can and will challenge any flawed process. But that was Michael Moran, leader of Rugby Borough Council, posting last Wednesday on Facebook. So far as I know, the ward closure is still set for next Wednesday, the 4th of December. That was the week of local Rugby town news, and I'm indebted to the excellent local paper, the Rugby Observer, for all their help. For more detail and more stories through the week as they happen, go to www.rugbyobserver.co.uk/news. You are listening to Rugby News Podcast, where I, Simon, draw together all the biggest stories from the last week from Rugby Town and all around, so you can hear them at your convenience, for free, every Friday, and with no distracting ads, all in about 20 minutes or so. You can listen while you're walking the dog, driving to work, or finishing off the ironing. And if you like what you hear, give it a like. Follow me or subscribe on your usual podcast station and tell your friends. Spread the word. Thanks. Now, every week in the Rugby News Podcast, I take my trusty mic and I chat with interesting people from around the town. People who are making a difference, adding to the uniqueness of this extraordinary place. This week, I wandered into town to the Claremont Centre at the top of Bar Street to find out about rugby's very own Repair Cafe. Like many of us, I'd heard a bit about and seen some of the repair shop programmes on telly, and I was intrigued to find out that we had a repair cafe of our own in Rugby Town. Well, I went looking and I found them in the Claremont Centre at the top of Bar Street during one of their recent Saturday morning monthly sessions. I found out it was part of a larger group of like-minded organisations that had recently come together under the umbrella of the Rugby Eco Hub. As luck would have it, I bumped into Alex Becker, chair of the trustees of the Rugby Eco Hub, and I found out how new it was.
EcoHub's actually only been open for just over a month now. Repair Cafe was kind of one of the founding members. Transition Town Rugby was another one of the founding members. And we were having, I would say, limited success in some of the things that we were trying to do around rugby. So, you know, promoting repair, promoting sustainable living. But in some ways, our success was kind of hampered by the small scale that we were working at and the fact that we were always struggling for a location and sort of moving around. And so the idea was born out of discussions that if we could try and find a more centralised location where we could do lots of things, and by having it all under the same roof, promoting and having like the benefit of all working at the same thing and cross-promotion and that kind of thing, and sharing our resources as well, and kind of this cross-pollination thing as well, because out of having these, bringing these separate projects together, people start talking and thinking of new things that we can then do and ways that we can kind of bring our resources together and do sort of interesting new things as well. So an example of that would be the Library of Things, which we've now started up. So we've got loads of things to hire now, and we're going to be expanding and increasing those. And yeah, I think, you know, we've already got lots of potential for lots of other projects as well.
Well, as you know, Alex, I've recently been chatting to quite a few people about what we can each do as individuals to meet the challenges of climate change and the loss of biodiversity. And I have to say, I've found so many voices saying, what's the point? It's a huge multinational problem. Until China stops building coal-fired power stations, there's nothing we can do to make any difference.
I think there's such a danger that, like, voices like that are saying that what's the point? I think there's such a danger of those voices kind of taking over the conversation. You know, I think the majority of people really are worried about the climate and the biodiversity crisis. Maybe they don't know a lot about it, but they're kind of aware that it's a problem. But then you've got all these voices saying, well, what's the point? Because China, etc., etc. If we can bring all those people together and show that actually all of us really do care and a lot of us really are worried, we can drown out those negative voices. I think that was kind of part of my idea for starting this as well. It's like, you know, actually standing together and saying, yes, we care, this is something that we really want to do. And, you know, it's really working actually, because already this is a community which is growing all the time. You know, I'd say we've already got regular core of maybe sort of 25 to 30 volunteers, but we keep growing. You know, Repair Cafe, every week we've got more people coming. The more we do, the more people come to us, the bigger it's going to get. So, you know, I hope that by the end of the year we could be 2-3 times the size, and going forward, you know, 5 years, we could be something really special. I think we've been running since October, and I think, you know, running until next October, I think, you know, yeah, we could show some massive changes.
Yeah, well, we heard from the climate event run by the borough a couple of weeks ago that there are lots of small things that we can do that can save us money, and adding up our personal efforts can make a huge difference. Think global, act local, as they used to say. Just listen to Sarah and Alan in my previous podcast, Wake Up Rugby. Anyway, Alex, Explain the Repair Cafe idea again.
People just get it. It's so easy. Essentially, you've got people out there who are really good at fixing stuff, and you've got other people out there who've got stuff that need to be fixed, but maybe aren't very good at fixing stuff. And you bring your stuff here, and the people that are good at fixing it fix it for you, and they're all volunteers.
So it's a win-win.
It is a massive win-win. I think we fix, I think it's about 2/3 of things that come through we actually manage to repair. And those that we don't fix, people say, well, thanks, you tried. And sometimes we can give advice as to maybe what you can do. Yeah, it's a concept that people just get, and it just works. It's brilliant.
Okay, well, I'm here at one of the repair stations, and I'm going to talk to a chap who I think it's his first time here. So who are you, and what are you doing?
Right, I'm Peter Nash. This is my first day here as a fixer. I'm quite excited about it. Seems like a good buzz here, a good bunch of people that are really nice. They're here to help everybody. Looks like we've got about perhaps a dozen, 8, 10, 12 repairers here, and it seems to be busy. A lot of stuff coming through the door, all shapes and sizes. I've just been doing a PlayStation, and it looks like there's mixers and that sort of thing. So there's a vast variety of electrical, electronic and mechanical stuff that's got little problems with it.
So is anything beyond you, do you think?
I think with a team like this and diversity and the skill we've got in the room here, I think we can do most things, really. Now, of course, sometimes you fix stuff and it comes back to haunt you, but we're here every month, so you can always bring stuff back again if you've not been successful the first time.
Really, really good. So, in essence, the Repair Cafe, when you're successful, is a win-win.
Absolutely, yeah, no. It's good fun for us as volunteers, feel like we're giving something back and helping people, keeping stuff out of landfill. And of course, it's good for the people who bring the stuff in, they get their stuff fixed for nothing.
So for the owners, for the repairers and for the planet, it's a win-win-win situation.
Absolutely, yeah, good for everyone.
Well, that was a refreshing and I have to say energising time spent at Rugby Town's own monthly Repair Cafe. Proof positive, perhaps, that coming out from behind the seeming safety of the mantra, oh, there's nothing I can do until everybody else does, until the political leaders and the multinational chairmen do something different, etc., that actually, by changing how we individually behave in small but important ways, using less plastic, walk or use public transport, healthier diets, repairing things that can save us cash, and in large enough numbers, we should and we can make the difference. What else are you going to do? Okay, well, I've been Simon, and from Rugby's Repair Cafe, goodbye. Okay, we've pretty much reached the end of this podcast, and thank you so much for staying with it. I'm aiming to publish a new one once a week, out on Thursday or Friday, ready for the weekend. Over time, I'm thinking it would be interesting to add an entertainment guide, sort of what's on in and around the town in the next fortnight. Would that be interesting? And also, I want to bring to a wider audience some of the hidden histories of this extraordinary town that are truly amazing, showing how Rugby Town has influenced and changed the world. I hope you liked what you heard, found it useful, and you want more. If you did, thank you. Please like it. Please subscribe. And if you have ideas about how it can be better, where it could be improved, do let me know in the comments. Or you could email me, simon.rugby.news@gmail.com. Okay, thanks again for listening. Catch up with you next week. Goodbye.